There is an amazing, easy to find vendor in Starfield with a 1 hour inventory reset, and they don't live on Venus. Hey everybody, welcome to 15 more things that every Starfield player should know, including how to use the hidden Starfield cover system, where you can find the best vendor in the game, and some secret buttons you might have missed if you play on controller. So first up, we're going to have a little look at a trick you can use to stop random ships that land on planets from flying away. So this is some Crimson Fleet lads, and although I am allied to them, we can kind of use them as a bit of an example. They're all going a bit crazy shooting these little bird things, but we can just kill all these guys, and what will normally happen if you kill all of the raiders is the ship will pretty quickly fly off and you won't be able to get on board it anymore, you won't be able to loot it, you won't be able to take the ship over and sell it, and there goes the last raider, and you can see the ship is pretty much straight away taking off. And this tends to happen with any of the random ships that land as events on planets. So if we come back to that save game and we try and repeat this scenario, we've got these 4 raiders here, and we're just going to kill 3 of these guys. So there's one left, just to make it nice and simple, if we can manage not to accidentally kill them all with this ridiculous gun. And then if we grab my Equinox, which is tooled up to stun people, and then shoot this guy and he gets knocked out, you can see that this ship isn't going to take off whilst this guy is still alive. Or if we killed him, the ship would take off, but because he's just nicely knocked out there, we can run over and hop on. But what we can do now, we can jump on this ship, we can hop on board, and it's not going to take off the whole time this guy is still alive. So now that we've stolen this pretty rubbish ship from the Crimson Fleet, we'll just show you very quickly how you can register this anywhere you want. Normally you'd go to a ship service technician like here on Hopetown. You can talk to one of these guys and then they'll offer to register it for a certain fee. You can see this guy, he'll charge 4,410 credits to register that for us. But if we want to, we can actually register this ship before we've even left the planet's surface that we've stolen it from. As soon as you've cleared out the crew, whether you're in space or on the ground, you can just sit in the pilot seat, open the pause menu, go down to the bottom left where the ship page is, and then using the controls in the bottom right, you can press to make this your home ship. Once you've done that, it will then give you the option to register it. So if I now press the back button, if you're on controller, I can now register that for the same price it would cost me at the guy at Hopetown, and that is now a registered ship that we can sell. And what this also means is that if we don't want to fly this newly stolen terrible ship very slowly off to somewhere we can sell it, I can just get out of the ship and then I can walk or fast travel back to my nice ship, and then we can make this my home ship again and go about our business and just sell the other ship whenever we want. You just have to remember to do the same thing when you get back to your original ship, sit in the pilot seat, open the ship page, and then go to make home ship. So another handy tip that it took me far too long to realize is a quicker way to figure out curing your afflictions. So you can see here I've got a status effect of fractured limb that was somewhat deliberately inflicted just a moment ago. And what I've been doing through the first 48 levels of this game is I'd scroll down to my aid, and then I'd be going through here looking at all the little names and going, okay, where's one for fracture or whatever it is, and trying to match up the names in the big list of treats and find the right one and then click that. But actually it took me a long time to really look at the bottom right there where it just says health and a little blue icon, and that's my current health and any afflictions I have. So if I just scroll down, you can see it just stays the same. It's that little blue icon, shows I have a fracture. I can just scroll down till I see that blue icon at the top, bang, anchored immobilizers, and take them, and then it's gone. Seems obvious for a lot of you, it probably was, but I'm sure there'll be some people like me who are idiots and hadn't noticed that. So next up, we're going to look at where you can find the best vendor in Starfield. I saw a really good tip the other day that was suggesting you should go to the Sol system, find Venus, and then on Venus keep landing over and over and exploring until you can find a civilian outpost that has a trader on it. The reason that's so effective on Venus is because the difference between local time and universal time, you only need to wait for 1 hour on Venus to reset a vendor's inventory. A vendor's inventory resets and the credits reset every 48 hours of universal time. But it can take a lot of landing and a lot of running around on foot exploring Venus trying to find one of these outposts. And we don't particularly need to go to Venus because we just need somewhere where 1 hour is 48 hours of universal time. On Venus, that's about 100 hours of universal time. And in fact, a much better place to do this than Venus is going to the Bessel system. What you then want to do is go and visit Bessel 3b. That's this moon here around Bessel 3. On this planet, you'll see there are 2 civilian outpost marks. Now, it's worth knowing that these don't seem to be there right from the very start of the game. On my old saves, I was able to find them from about level 15, 16, something like that. I'm not exactly sure at what point these appear, whether that's mission related or not, but I've checked on a couple of my different saves, but they do seem to just pop up at some stage fairly early in the game. Of these two civilian outposts, it's the bottom one that you want to land at, so just select that and drop down. And you can see nearby we've got this little igloo icon civilian outpost that we've landed just 300 meters away from. So if we run over here, once you get to the outpost, just head on inside, and now you've discovered it, you will be able to fast travel here as well from your ship. You won't have to walk over. Once inside, just go up to the bar and you'll find this trader, and you can chat to them and sell and buy anything you want. So you can see they've got 5,000 credits. If we want to sell them some stuff, we can just pick some stuff at random. It doesn't really matter. We'll just sell you some of our guns so you run out of money. There you go, pretty much out of money, 0 credits there for the vendor. And then if we just take a seat at one of these bar stools and select wait, you can see that 1 local hour is 57 hours and 47 minutes universal time. We just need to wait for 48 hours universal time to reset our inventory. So we just press A, wait for 1 hour, and we can talk to her again. And you don't actually even need to stand up to do this, but although you might if she walks off. Go back to talk to her again, and she's got 5,000 credits again, and you can sell her some more stuff. So it's a really quick, easy way of selling stuff. Some of the other towns, you have to sit there and wait for 24 or 48 hours, which is a bit tedious. Whereas this, you can just do 1 hour, inventory is reset, and you can sell some more stuff. It's also a good way to buy stuff if you want. You can see here that the vendor's got a pretty good supply of different ammo types we can buy. If you want to see some different ones in there, we can just reset their inventory again and have another look and see what they've got. They also sell quite a lot of resources. It's a great way to get tons of resources you might need. She's got aid items, she's got ship parts, and she can even repair your ship and sell you some basic ship things. Obviously, she doesn't have many credits for a ship salesperson, but if you were to buy some ship parts and give them a load of credits, you could then sell a load of your other stuff and get those credits back. If anyone figures out exactly what it is early in the game that makes these outposts first appear on the map, I'd love to know, so do post that in the comments down below. So something that I didn't realize until very recently was that there is actually a cover mechanic you can use whilst in first person on Starfield. So if you go up to certain objects near corners like this, you can see my gun gets pushed in like you normally see on FPP games when your gun's being obstructed by the wall. But if I now aim in when my gun is in this position, you can see I'm actually peeking the corner. Now, it's a little hit and miss what you can actually do this round and what you can't, but you can see here, you can kind of do it on quite a lot of different things in the game. It won't work on here because my gun hasn't gone down, but perhaps if I crouch, it might let me. There you go. So if I crouch there, it does actually let me. It's not really something that I use very much, but I tend to just run around exploding everyone with my ridiculous Coachman here with its Hornet rounds on it. By the way, if you want to see some more information about this gun and the Hornet rounds, then check out my top 5 weapon mods video that I did quite recently, and that will tell you all about this ridiculous weapon that I'm using to kill absolutely everything. You can see here we can try and utilize a bit of cover on some of these guys. We can peek around these guys and nearly blow myself up. Probably not the best gun for this. There you go. You can see we can do a bit of slow and steady play there rather than just shoot them in the face. Definitely something useful if you're a bit lower level, or if you're playing a bit of a stealth character and you want to take things a bit more chilled. And just a cool little thing to know that's in the game that I hadn't seen before. Something I found useful particularly at lower levels and when exploring planets is not to sleep on using the cutter as a weapon. If you're running around exploring loads of planets and usually killing lots of animals, it's a pretty quick way of going through all of your ammo without really getting any more ammo back. But the cutter's actually pretty effective as a damaging weapon. If you hold down the left trigger, then it will charge up and do more damage with your attacks. What on earth are these things that I'm attacking? And also, if you level up your laser weapon skill, then it will inflict burning damage onto your opponents. It's not quite the amazing thing that I think I've seen some people rave about in other videos. It does have a very good DPS when you have the skill leveled all the way up. You can see here I've got my laser skill all the way up to rank 4, so it does 30% more damage and a 5% chance to set a target on fire. So it pretty much constantly sets everything on fire with all the small hits that it's doing. But the cutter has a very short range and it only has quite a small amount of charge before you have to stop shooting and then let it charge back up again. So if you're fighting big groups of enemies like this, it's not the greatest thing, because if they will start running at you, then you'll die very quickly, as is probably about to happen. But when you're running around fighting more low-level stuff like this, it is very effective. You can drop things very quick. You see that guy went very quickly, barely used any charge on the gun. And if you like running around doing surveying, like I said, you're going to run out of ammo very quickly if you're using your normal weapons without going into the different dungeons and killing bad guys there. Another thing that's quite easy to miss is that unless you put a point into the demolition skill, you won't get a trajectory arc for your grenades. As well as giving you a larger damage radius, more damage done, and more damage resistance, this skill also gives you a trajectory line. So if you hold down the button to throw a grenade, which is RB on controller, you can see here, I now get this line that shows me exactly where that frag grenade is going to go, rather than just blindly throwing it at the enemies and hoping it connects. Another thing that's hidden behind a skill point that you might not have realized in Starfield is the stealth meter. So you can see here I've got this hidden detected bar that has appeared at the top. And if you take 1 point in the stealth skill, which you'll find on the physical tree in the middle here, that will unlock the stealth meter for you. What the game doesn't really tell you though is that it's actually a lot harder to be detected if you are wearing less items. So you can see if I crouch down here behind Mateo, I'll be hidden. But if I move even just a little bit, he'll hear me pretty easily. You can see the green bar going up as soon as I'm moving around just like this. But if we actually go into my inventory and take off a bunch of my kit, my pack, my spacesuit, my helmet, and also my outfit as well, you can see that I can actually move really significantly behind him, and I'm not getting the green bar coming up at all. I am fully naked crouching around behind him, apart from my pants, but you can see I can move around quite a lot and he's not hearing me in the slightest. The green bar isn't even appearing. If I move around in front of him, he's still going to see me eventually. So if you want to stealth around in the game, then doing it in your pants is the best way to go for it. Next up, we've got a couple of little tricks to help you out if you are playing on a controller. So if you're trying to move massive stacks of items on PC with mouse and keyboard, it's not particularly difficult. If you want to split a stack of, say, 1,000 things into smaller amounts, it doesn't really take you too much time. But if you're on console and you've got this stack of 1200 aluminium or aluminum for the Americans, and you want to drop half of it, doing it like this is going to take you all day. What you can do though is use RB and LB, and it's going to go down in larger increments. And this seems to scale depending on how big the stack is. But you can see just by tapping the bumper buttons, I can get that down to halfway and it drops 600 aluminum on the floor very easily. Another nice trick for people playing on a controller is when you're in the shipbuilder. If you're playing on PC, then you probably already know that by clicking directly on the little blue connection points, you can actually open up a list and it will show you only things that you can place on that spot. Different connection points can take different attachments, and this is a really nice way to look at just the things allowed in that position. If you go to the normal add list and then place them on like this, you get all sorts of stuff shown to you, and then you have to kind of go and see if there's actually something that could viably fit on the spot you were looking at. You can do this on controller though. It took quite a while for this to get figured out, but if you hover over one of these blue connection points, hold down left and right triggers at the same time and then press A, then it will do this for you. You can see we've got this list up here. I'm playing on Xbox on controller at the moment, and we've got this list. We can chuck this on here. If we find another little blue connector, we can open up this one. It'll give us different options. It doesn't give you ones that necessarily will fit if you've got something in the way. You can see this will allow certain dockers, cockpits, cargo, structural elements, and that kind of thing. If we go over to the side here, or maybe give us some different options, you can see we could put some bays and all sorts of stuff on here. And at the back, looks like we've got another weapon slot. We could put a cannon or some such at the back. It's also worth remembering that some ship parts that you can buy are level locked, and you will unlock all ship parts available once you hit level 60. So the availability of ship parts within the different shops and shipyards aren't restricted by the skills you've got, it is purely by your level. A lot of ship parts are exclusive to certain vendors in certain locations, and there's a couple of fantastic Reddit posts that show exactly what can be found where, as well as one that contains images of all the different habs you can use. I'll put a link to both of those down in the description, and shout out to both of those people for those fantastic sources of information. Another handy trick I figured out when I was leveling up my spacesuit design skill and my weapon engineering skill is that in order to complete the challenges to hit the next level, so craft 30 spacesuit helmet or pack mods or weapon mods, etc., is that you don't have to do it on different items or craft anything fancy, and it also counts for uninstalling mods as well as installing them. What this means is you can see we've got 29 left to do for our spacesuit mods, and if we go into our workbench and then select select my helmet here. I've just taken the mod off here. We can find the cheapest one to put back on. Let's say the EM shielding one. This uses 1 cosmetic, 1 copper, and 2 tungsten. We can put that on. Then go back to no mod, do that. That costs 1 sealant and 1 aluminum. And then we can just keep doing this, go backwards and forwards, do it a few times. There we go. And you can see in the left there, it's popping up with the progress of that skill. We're actually leveling that up really quickly, and it's barely using any resources that we really care about. If we end up using up a bit too much tungsten or whatever, we can put on a few of these ones. Ballistic shielding just uses nickel and cosmetic. And then go back, take that off for up to 15. And you can see that you can get this leveled up extremely quickly doing this without using any particularly rare resources whatsoever. So you're probably familiar with the idea that you can find stat magazines around in the world that will give you permanent stat increases. But something that I think is worth remembering is that you don't just find them on particular missions and quests. They're not just in big key named locations. You can really find them in all sorts of places, not just wandering around exploring the main towns, but even in random encounters you find on planets. If you go to a planet and visit a random structure that pops up where there's a few baddies in a mining outpost or a research outpost and go and kill some spacers or some Varun, it's always worth searching those pretty thoroughly, because most of the time you are going to find at least 1 stat magazine there that will give you a permanent increase to one of your stats, and sometimes you can even find 2 in one location. So if you do like exploring and thoroughly searching locations, there is a benefit to doing that almost everywhere in the game. Another handy place to go and sell things is talking to Noel in the lodge, who will actually buy organic resources from you for a better price than anyone else. If you go and chat to her and ask her about the artifacts and follow through some of those dialogue options, she'll give you the option to sell her any organic resources you found. She'll give you a pretty good price for these, but she does only have 3,500 credits, so it doesn't really go a long way. But if you're farming a lot of these materials, it's a good place to get a great price from them, and then you can rest and sell them again. And because you're on Jemison, you only need to rest here for 24 in-game hours in order to reset the inventory, because that will be 48 hours of universal time. And one final tip for today is that if you're finding yourself running a bit low on ammo, as well as picking it up from your enemies' bodies, if you actually pick up their guns, you'll get a small amount of ammo for doing that as well. Even if they're not guns you particularly want, you can get in the habit of scooping up all the guns you see and then just dump them every now and again so you don't fill up your inventory. It doesn't matter so much if you're like me and using shotguns a lot, but if you start using full auto weapons, then you can really go through the ammo pretty quickly, especially if you're playing on higher difficulties and getting at higher levels where the enemies can take a lot of shots to kill. So that's everything for today. If you enjoyed this video, then why not check out one of my other Starfield guides and drop a like and subscribe if you want to see more like this. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Ben, we are the Beard Guys, and I'll see you next time.